can't reverse my camera. Excuse me. All right. So I had initially decided, like last week, I said we were going to talk about um, viruses, and then I decided I don't want to. I don't want to talk about viruses tonight. So, see, I have a like, but nobody is there according to YouTube. So I don't know if you're there or not. If you are, you can leave a comment. So we're going to kind of go over tonight because it's really kind of fascinating. I want to talk about the human body and and how it's kind of a superhighway. I'm getting all my notes together so I can stay on topic. If you have any questions during the live while we're doing this, let's see if I can get a little closer. If you have any questions during the live, feel free to ask, but try to stay on topic. If you get off topic, I won't be covering that tonight. So a few people get a little salty about that, but I mean, read the title. Title is what it is. Last week I had Wyatt join me as a guest. Um, Wyatt is very camera shy. I found out. So I mean, there's he had a little bit of a difficult time being live. He's not as used to being on a camera. So I mean, I'm not super used to it, and it gets kind of awkward, like if I'm out in public and somebody recognizes me. Um, but which happens every now and then. I have a lot more followers on other platforms than this one, so um, every now and then I'll get people that work with me that follow me. A lot of people at work don't know that I have social media. I know I don't talk about it much, but so tonight we're going to talk about. I'm not sure where I want to start, man. There's so many good topics on it. Um, Body communication networks. That's how I put it together. That was my initial. That's what I had under my original files. So, and in my actual book, the big book that I'm also trying to work on, all this stuff is in there too. So, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. Well, I mean, I can't see you, but glad you're here. You can join me. Wow, there's 7 people. That's awesome. So, I know last week I said I was going to talk about viruses, but I don't want to. I'm not going to talk about viruses tonight. So instead, I want to talk about the body, the human body, and I have a unique perspective. Um, I'm doing okay. I have a unique perspective on the human body, right? And I tend to look at it more logically. Even though I practice herbal medicine and I'm a holistic health specialist, um, I appreciate you guys watching. Um, Somebody said in the comments that they appreciate my work. And, I appreciate you guys that follow. I'm glad I'm helping if I am. So even though I'm an herbalist, right, I'm a natural healer, I'm a big science nerd. And I only really want to pay attention to the science part of this. And the more I dig into it, it turned into a big rabbit hole. Like when I first started this, it had nothing to do with any of this medicinal stuff. Hey, how you doing, Mitchell? Hi, everybody. Um, had nothing to do with the medicinal part. I was in kind of a weird part of my life, so I didn't really care about that. But then when I started noticing that there was stuff, it was like, wow. Mitchell says he can't tap the screen. Normally I'm live over on TikTok. However, if I do lives here, it gets saved, and I can pick specific formats and stuff. I didn't do a lot to research for this one. This is stuff that I've already covered in my previous work. And if you're interested in joining a natural healing course, I'm actually working on a natural healing course I'm doing, and part of what's here is section 1. This is part of section 1. There's other parts of it. Excuse me. So I'm not sure. Mitchell wanted to know how you can invite. I don't know how to invite people. I just know that if I go live here, YouTube will automatically save it for me, and I don't have enough disk space on any of my devices to be able to hold the amount of information that would be required to do like an hour-long video. YouTube does so I freely use those. I research herbal medicine. I mean, that's the but but only the scientific part of herbal medicine and natural healing in general, not just herbs. I mean, that's the primary focus of most of my research, but I'm also a holistic and integrated specialist. So I kind of try to incorporate different modalities or different modes of healing. So part of it is part of it is you when you start the natural healing process, you kind of you have to somewhat understand how the body works, right? Because because if you don't understand the thing you're trying to fix, it's like trying to work on a car and you don't know anything about it, or trying to fix your house and you've never held a hammer. If you don't know anything, or you've never repaired a wall, um, and you've never done drywall, right? But you're supposed to fix it. Well, how are you supposed to fix it if you've never, if you don't know anything about it? So when it comes to your body, the same principle applies, right? I mean, it's your body, but from a scientific viewpoint, it's realistically just it's a biological machine. It requires specific fuel. It requires, specific nutrients. You got to make sure that it doesn't have a lot of gunk and toxins, building up. And if you give it all the right stuff, if you put diesel in a car, it doesn't run very well. Well, right now it's like everybody's eating diesel, right? Because look at all the sick people that we have. We have a lot of people that are pretty ill. So, but a lot of that is due to the gunk. Um, but some of it is how our body interconnects, right? And there's different aspects to it. I don't know. Someone said, "Do I think artificial intelligence is dangerous for humans?" I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the human that's using it. If somebody's using it for research or somebody's using it to better other people, I mean, it couldn't be. But you've always got jerks out there who only think about themselves, so they could turn it into a tool that could easily backfire. You know, could be dangerous. So your body interconnects in several different ways, right? So we'll start with the easy one, the very first one, the one I have is the heart brain connection. Your heart and your brain have a very direct link, and in fact, they some people say, I can't say they, there are some people that say that your heart is actually your second brain. It receives more information than your brain does, as far as like the neurons going into it and the type of information that goes. Your heart receives more information than your brain does. Your heart produces an electromagnetic field that extends out about 6 feet, and your brain extends an electromagnetic field that goes out, I don't know, maybe a foot, foot and a half. So the heart produces a significantly more potent electromagnetic field than the brain does. And if you what they've tried to look at is with the heart brain connection is that your mindset seems to be extremely relevant to how your health is, right? So you have to think about it in a way. You have to go into it thinking positive, right? This is part of the healing process. You have to go into it with the mindset that it's going to be good. If you have a lot of negative emotions, because there's a lot of angry people out there, right? Um, and those people that are really angry are usually pretty unhealthy. I mean, there are some angry people that just seem to stay alive despite people, but there are other people. You see the ones that are the most angry. They're always depressed, they're always bummed out. Um, always have those negative actions, right? They just kind of like a Debbie Downer all the time. They tend to be pretty unhealthy. I mean, the body doesn't like that. It has a negative impact on the heart. It is it's it's all interconnected, right? And what you think and what you do. There's a guy. His name is well, we'll talk about him on the next one. Um, the types of modalities that work best with the heart brain connection would be like breath work. If you're doing the breath work, there's different ways to do breath work, right? You have the real huffing, you have the real deep breathing. There's a God, at least a half a dozen. I would be willing to bet there's probably dozens of different methods of doing different types of breath work, and that's just focusing on your breathing. Meditation seems to work well to balance the heart brain connection. Um, wilderness, the wilderness modality, wilderness healing. all of those that kind of touch with nature, they tend to impact this heart brain connection, right? Because this is going to lower your blood pressure, it's going to lower your anxiety levels, it's going to lower your stress. You're going to be producing more like dopamine and norepinephrine and the feel good chemicals, the ones that make you feel good. And um, but if you're always angry, right, and you're pretty much you're producing adrenaline, and adrenaline's good in an emergency. I mean, if you needed an emergency, you need to lift a car off your kid or something. Yeah, you definitely want some adrenaline. Or I used to do like MMA, so when you're in a match or something, that adrenaline is super helpful, right? But but to have it all the time in your body, it creates a lot of extra stress. Hey, Sarah. So it creates a lot of extra stress. And um, people that are angry, people that are, like if you're the kind of person that gets frustrated, sometimes I do. I'll get frustrated when I'm driving. Somebody wants to drive slow, I'll get frustrated. I don't yell and scream, but I get real frustrated. Well, that's bad for the body, mind, heart brain connection. That actually has a negative impact on everything. On your cardiovascular system, and sometimes it's better just to take a deep breath, even if you're in a hurry and people are slow. You just have to take that deep breath, and it'll give you a little bit better outlook with the health part. So so they've gone in and done some studies, like they put all the electrodes and all that stuff on, and they talk. Well, they've studied like with meditation how it affects and how it directly impacts the body. And yeah, go. I haven't watched football in like, I don't know, 10, 15 years. In my opinion, it's rigged. So yeah, it's no different than WWE. And that's just my opinion, though. What do I know? I'm just a nerd guy. So I haven't watched it. My dad was a Kansas City fan, though. He'd probably be loving it. Stepdad. Oh my God. You guys want to see my dog? They're just gonna be on YouTube forever. Anybody want to see the dog? He's out there whining at the door. If I don't open the door, he's gonna do it all night. Come in here, you big baby. This is Morpheus, right? This is Morpheus, and unfortunately, he feels very neglected. Who is I? I'm the herb guy. Who are you? And you came just in time. We're talking about, well, we just got done talking about the heart-brain connection. So somebody came in named Robert. Who is you? I don't know. I'm the herb guy. Watch some of my videos. You'll figure it out. Nice. If I paid attention to football, I might even be interested. But he said he makes money on. I'm not T2. He makes money on DraftKings. You go. Maybe they'll sponsor me. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be very good for them to sponsor me because I rarely gamble. I mean, I gambled when I went to Vegas. I took my son to Vegas this summer, and I did really well at craps, but didn't do so well at the slots. He killed at the slots. I'm trying to start my YouTube channel, but I'm confused what to post. You know what? I am too, dude. I have over 4,000 followers. Um, so somebody said he's interested in starting a YouTube channel and he's confused on what to post. I am too. I don't know. I know that my type of content typically gets suppressed a lot. I have 4,000 followers. I'd have a lot more followers. A lot of people are interested in natural healing, but YouTube has stated they're not gonna like promote this type of content. So so I don't know, man. I every now and then I'll get lucky and I'll hit a couple hundred views, but I've never really done. It's hard to get traction on this channel. You got a lot of competition, man. So Gomez the Goat Whisperer. Goats are all right. Anyway, back on to what I'm talking about before I get distracted. So with the heart-brain connection, what they've discovered is like with emotions and stuff, emotions have a direct impact on your physical well-being. They've done studies where people that have had abuse and like bad things happen in their past, when they think about it, or when they try to or when they relive those memories, or when they have those memories, their body reacts as if it were happening right then. Right? The body doesn't know the difference. It can't tell the difference when you're thinking it or not. So when people relive past traumas, that typically tends to have a negative impact on their body. You do cross the line, dude. Bye. So, I mean, you're certainly welcome to watch, but nobody really wants to see what you have to say. So, I'm just saying, you want to be a dork, go be a dork somewhere else, man. We're talking about good stuff. So your body will actually have a direct physiological impact when you have negative emotions and when you think those kinds of things. Um, but they've also found that positive self-talk, like if you're going along and you stub your toe or you drop something, oh dumbass, that that's a negative affirmation, and your body will respond as if somebody else had called you that name, even if you call yourself that kind. Oh, that was stupid. Those types of things, and most people do that, not without even realizing. But your body will react as if your body's like, "Wow, that guy just called me stupid," even if it was you were that guy. The Your body doesn't know the difference, and it'll react, you know, in that manner. So, positive affirmations, however, seem to have the, the exact opposite effect, right? When you have the positive affirmations, you'll start producing the dopamine. Your body will take that as a compliment. So, if you give yourself a compliment, wow, man, you did a really good job. Your body doesn't know the difference. Your body's like, oh, wow, that guy thinks I did a good job. It's the same thing. And it kind of makes me think, I think we have the means to with all the stuff on social media, and the constant division, it makes it real easy to keep people angry, right? And in an angry population, there's a pretty ill population for the most part. 60% of the U.S. population is on some sort of pharmaceutical. 68%, I think it is now, of the adult population has either had or is currently on some sort of pharmaceutical drug, like prescribed. So, I mean, societally, it kind of seems like we're pretty ill. We've got some definite issues. And if we can change our mindset, I mean, that's kind of be a good place to start, I would think. If you can change your mindset on how you're thinking. And it's not even about your health, to be fair. It's not necessarily your health that's exactly relevant, but it's just the positive things that you can say to yourself. If you make a good meal, if you, um, I don't know, anything you do that's good. I mean, I guess Jordan Peterson did. I haven't read his book, but simple things like making your bed could be an accomplishment, right? Clean your room, vacuum your floor, do your dishes, little things like that. This is part of the mind-brain connection, or the heart-brain connection. This is this is gonna give your body positive biofeedback, right? It's gonna impact your body on a biological level. Right? You're gonna have chemical processes that happen when you do this. Mitchell says it's thumb tapping. Am I the president? Oh man, you're gonna be a dork. If you're just gonna be in here to be disruptive, go away. I'd rather you just go away, to be real. I mean, either that or I'm just gonna mute you. So, I, if you're just gonna be a distraction, you're just a distraction for other people, and the only one you're entertaining is yourself. So, if you want to be a troll and be obnoxious, I mean, feel free to do it elsewhere. Anybody have any questions on the heart brain connection? Ugh. Now my cat wants attention too. Yes, I have two cats. I don't think anybody has any questions on the heart brain connection. Got to remember, people are going to be watching this later, so if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them. But if you're going to be a dork, go be a dork somewhere else. I mean, some people might find that entertaining, but Don't catch me on the wrong day, though. Just saying. My sinuses were fried. Ended up with a sinus infection. And yes, I had an herb for that. And yes, I took it. So, that's why I said I had a sinus infection. Not that I have a sinus infection. However, I have the aftermath of a sinus infection, too. We are not here for stupid. You tell him, Ben. And you can't fix stupid. That's the downside. Alright, dude. Bye. Hi, caramba. Alright. So, the connection with the heart. Well, I'm going to touch on this real quick. I keep getting distracted. Damn it. I got to stop that. Alright. So, you guys already know how I am, too. And I got something in my eye. I think it's a cat hair. Stupid cat. Anyway. So, I'm just having a night, aren't I? And then I made chocolate cake. But I have to wait till it cools before I put the frosting on. Anybody want to see the chocolate cake? This would be kind of the stuff I'd be making on the cooking channel. Homemade chocolate cake from scratch, not out of the box. Smells wonderful. I want to eat it now, but I made frosting for it, so gotta wait for it to cool. Oh, thank you. I'm not gonna eat it. I'm not gonna eat the cake, but I will show it to you. Moose is laying here. You know what? My brain isn't connected to half my body half the time either. That's what I get for being neurodivergent. So, here's the chocolate cake homemade from scratch. This is exactly the kind of recipe. I'm actually going to do this recipe for cooking single. Right there. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? Look at that. Nice and shiny. It smells wonderful. Put it in here to cool off. It only takes like, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. And I really like cake. It smells amazing. And I'm really going to suffer now because it's like, now it's right here. And I'm not going to eat it regardless. Somebody said it looks tasty, but it is. So, there's like tons of information just going back and forth between the heart and the brain, right? So, and I gotta stay on track, man. I'm so easily distracted. So, and the chocolate frosting is like a light brown. It looks really good. So I use butter and powdered sugar, and then I whipped it until it was like really whipped. Want to see the cake? There's the cake. Ooh. Oh my god, it smells really good. All right. So anyway, and they talk all the time, but it seems for whatever reason the heart actually gets more input than the brain does, which is kind of weird if you think about it. Back in the I'm gonna do okay. So I'm starting a new channel, cooking single. In theory, Wyatt's gonna help, when he's not busy, but he's a pretty busy dude too. But I'm gonna do recipes like this because I make it for when I go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna cut smaller pieces and then I doing fruit salad tonight, and then tacos. I think I'm doing for lunch tomorrow. All right. Anyway, I gotta get off. Gotta get right on. So easily distracted. Right? Leave the squirrels alone. So the next part. What time is that? At 24 minutes, we finally get to the second section. We have the gut-brain connection. Anybody ever heard of the gut-brain connection other than you guys? Right. It smells really good. It's making me hungry. I can't have any until tomorrow. It really sucks. Can't put the frosting on it until it cools. If you do, it'll just melt and it gets all gross. Quit talking about the cake. Rabid robots, you're killing me, dude. Alright. So the gut-brain connection. Now we're on gut-brain. We already talked about heart-brain. There really isn't much more to cover on the heart-brain. I mean, I could bring up the section. I actually have the whole section right here. It's part of, you actually have access to that. You're a patron. That was part of section 1 of the herbal healing course, or the natural healing course. Next month, it looks like it's going to be on a Tuesday, starts the actual course. They'll be live at night. I'll be doing them in sections. But they'll also be written like I do all the other sections, and you'll have it available in Word and PDF and all that. But it'll be for those of you who are able to see it live, you can ask questions live. If you don't get an opportunity to see it live, you can still go back and watch it, right? Because it's still recorded. You just, if you have questions, you'll just have to leave a comment, and I'll get back to it when I have time. How much of others' heart magnetic field or energy affect us? That's a good question. See, I like secondhand emotions. Okay, so here's my thought on this. Okay, so when it comes to that electromagnetic field, we all produce a specific frequency, right? Every one of our frequencies is going to be different. This is back to the heart brain connection. I'm sorry, we're going to jump back because Staff Duty Gaming had a really good question. It's like, how much of others' heart magnetic field or energy affects us, like secondhand emotions? I think a lot, right? It depends on the people. Look at mob mentality. So if you get a bunch of angry people, if you get a bunch of people together and a few people get angry, it kind of spreads like a cancer, right? And you can just watch it. And then eventually you have a mob, where you have the riots and stuff like that because just a few people started it. It only takes a few people to start that off. Okay, so you want to hear a funny story? I'll tell you about how this works. Your energy can affect other people. My best friend and I once were in a busy Salem, Oregon, 30 years ago. Maybe not, yeah, 30 years ago, maybe more. But we were walking downtown and we were heading to the mall. And I said, "Hey, Dan, watch this." And he goes, "What?" So we were standing on the corner and there was a bunch of people around, right? And I just looked up. I go, "Look up." He's like, "Look up at what?" I said, "I don't know, just look in the same direction I am." And we did. And so we stood there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. And then I pointed. I said, "Do you see it? Do you see it?" I'm only talking to Dan. And eventually a couple people stopped and they started looking and they're all looking, "What do you see?" After about, I don't know, it took a few minutes of us standing there. And then finally him and I just kind of walked away. And there was like 7 people standing there looking and pointing, sure that they saw something in the sky. You know, part of that was energy, I think, suggestion maybe. But they started to believe it, right? They started to believe that there was something up there enough that they stayed there, pointing at this. I don't know how long they stayed because we weren't on the mall, but but that's kind of similar. And then I have other things like when you meet somebody you just don't like for no reason, shake their hand, they've never done anything, even a good looking person, beautiful woman, handsome man, whatever, but for whatever reason you get within a certain distance of them and you don't like them. There's just something about them you don't like. And no matter what they do, no matter how nice they are, no matter how well they get along with all your friends and family, you don't like them. And it does happen. Um, it happens every now and then. I think I've only met like 3 people like that. I've been around that, I just don't like you. And there's no reason not to. I'm still always nice to them, right? I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, I don't even know why I don't like this person, but I don't like them. So yeah, I think that's a thing. I think that our electromagnetic fields can definitely interact. Then you also have the positive part of that, right? Look at prayer. They've done studies where I think people have kind of helped direct their electromagnetic field somehow because they've done studies where people in church or in a hospital that were sick and people in a church were praying for them without the person in the hospital being aware that they were being prayed for. And and it was I don't remember exactly. I have the study. I just don't. I'm not going to pull it up tonight. But there were several. I mean, it was lots of different reports that like these scientists had gone through and done articles and had read all these other trials and things. The people would get better when the people would pray for them. Love, yeah, love can also be right. So I do think that that there is a correlation there. I mean, maybe we need to figure out a way to direct that on a more natural level. I mean, if science can show that it happens, it's not spontaneous. It's like it just happened randomly. Um, if science can show that it's I mean, mindset's going to be pretty relevant. If somebody doesn't believe it's going to work, though, it's not going to work. I mean, it just isn't because you don't think it will. That's where we kind of do that self-defeating thing. All right, stay on topic. What were we talking about? The gut brain, right? This is actually kind of where it all starts, to be fair. I probably should have led with this one. The gut brain connection. Your brain has some real specific input on how your gut goes. right? But oftentimes the saying is your gut knows you're sad before you do. Our diet can impact our emotions. If our digestive system is off, it can impact our emotions. These are what the studies have shown, right? And if your gut is unhealthy, oftentimes your brain is too. It sounds weird, right? But your emotions are going to be off too. So it's pretty important to ensure that, and that's also tied up directly with your immune system, right? Your gut is responsible for 70% of your immune system. So if you're not paying attention to your gut, you do run the risk of having more adverse. He's requiring attention. Um, Adverse emotional impact on your body, right? It will impact you negatively. Um, and to be fair, a lot of people have a bad digestive system. If you've had an antibiotic in the last year, if you've had what's it called, the Z-Pack antibiotic, I think that's what that one's called. 5 years, it can disrupt your digestive system for anywhere from 1 to 5 years just by taking an antibiotic, just one run. And because it's pretty indiscriminate in what it kills off as far as the bacteria goes, and your gut is loaded with bacteria, beneficial bacteria that's specifically designed to break down food, to make it usable for you. And if you've taken, that's why it never made sense for me. Um, the gut is the front line to all health, mental and physical. He said I taught him that. Well, I have talked about this for years, and I've tried to tried to make this consistent, but I'm constantly getting new followers. So people that are coming in don't necessarily hear this information, and it's probably been at least a year since I've even discussed this kind of stuff. I mean, as far as videos go, because oftentimes it loses the average person, right? I mean, I've been talking to like my coworkers and stuff, and they're pretty typical average people, and I get a lot of my ideas from them. Like the parsley video that I did today, I got, what should be my hook? Should it be the heavy metals or the multivitamin? And everybody unanimously said heavy metals, right? So that was my leading hook to get more people, and it worked, right? There was more people that saw it. They didn't necessarily watch the whole thing, but I got more initial views. So is that all antibiotics? So, okay, so Ben said the gut is the front line to all health, mental and physical. And Teresa says that, yeah, all antibiotics, all of them, they all do that. It's indiscriminate because that's what an antibiotic is. It's specifically antibacterial, and it kills bacteria. And it's never made sense if you give somebody with a flu an antibiotic, because a flu is oftentimes a virus. A cold is a virus, right? And you give them an antibiotic which kills bacteria, right? So you have a virus that's attacking your body, and then you wipe out 70% of your immune system. And they say, well, that's to fight the after effect, the bacterial infections that you'll often get in your lungs. And it's like, well, but you've left the virus with no immune system to fight it. You actually made the virus worse by killing off all the bacteria. So it's never made sense to me. But there's also the placebo effect in that, right? Because there are people that will take the antibiotics thinking it's going to help, and it does. And that's part of that mindset thing. And if they can think, yeah, I'm taking this and it makes me better, it does. But it never made sense. Like when one of my kids was sick, my mom they had the flu. Pretty sure it was the flu. Um, Can I speak on how the gut is essentially the second brain and how why? That's kind of what I'm trying to do. Kind of. It is your second brain in that if it's okay, how it works is this. You have your gut that feeds your brain, right? If your gut is off, you're not feeding your brain properly. Okay? So when they say that your gut will know you're sad before you do, it's because when you're sad, right, it has also a direct impact. Remember we talked about the heart-brain connection? When you're sad, that will have a direct impact on your digestive health as well, because that's your autonomous nervous system, the part that you really can't control. It's kind of automatic. So But conversely, okay, so it kind of works both ways. When you're sad, your gut is off, right? And since your gut is off, you're going to continue to be sad because your gut is off, but your brain is not working right because it's not getting the right nutrients, but your gut is still off, and the more your brain is on, so it kind of goes like this circle, right? Because if you're not feeding this right, you're not feeding this right, and this is going to directly impact this. Like when you get nervous, think about this. When you get nervous or anxious, you feel it in your gut. Some people get an upset stomach. Some people will get diarrhea or gas. Because it has a direct impact. But um, when you're sick, right? When your gut is sick, or when you do get sick, that will also have an impact on your brain, right? It's kind of hard to feel cheery and chipper when you have the flu. You know what I mean? No, 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 don't worry about it. So it's all interconnected. If you're not feeding your gut right, it's not going to feed your brain right. And if your brain isn't fed right, your gut's going to be off because, you're always miserable, you're always sad. It's going to have a direct impact on your digestive system. And it is a vicious cycle, right? Right? It really just kind of goes back and forth like a big circle. So if you can correct your gut and try to correct your mindset. That's the hard part, man. It's hard to be chipper and happy all the time, right? For a lot of people, there's not really a lot of things to be chipper and happy about. So, um, if you can fix your gut, though, in a way, that will help your body to produce more of those compounds that make you feel good, right? Because now you're getting the proper nutrients you need. Because your gut is pretty complex. It doesn't just have bacteria in it. It has bacteria, it has viruses, it has amoeba, it has fungi. There's all sorts of different stuff. It's a complete microbiome. It's its own class, its own ecosystem. And all of them work together. There's enzymes in there. All of them work together to break down your food specific ways so you remove specific nutrients out of them, all your different vitamins and minerals and all of that, and then it distributes them throughout your body, right? That's how it's supposed to work properly. So when your gut is off, you're not going to do that. Your body isn't going to produce the stuff you need. You need to fix your gut first, and then try to fix your mindset. I think, I don't know. I can't speak to it like on a personal level, but it seems to me from a common sense level that if you can fix your digestive system, I didn't want to get this tail, if you can fix your digestive system, that would definitely help to improve your mood somehow. I mean, at some point, you'd think it would. If not, then you kind of got to address the mind thing at that point. You got to figure out, why am I so gloomy all the time? I fixed my gut. My digestion's right now. So why am I so gloomy all the time? And at that point, maybe it takes a little bit more introspection and a little bit of looking into oneself, if you know what I mean. Hey, Udell, how are you? Can we help our gut with enzymes? I do believe that they do have some, but in reality, your body, I think your body produces enzymes, right? But you have to feed it right. So I think the best way to go about doing that would be like your probiotics, um, your fermented foods, your prebiotics are also pretty important. And a prebiotic is just simply an easily soluble fiber. So most vegetables are prebiotics, most fruits are prebiotics. They break down easily in the gut, and then ultimately your gut will convert them into a probiotic, right? Because then it'll kind of go through that semi-fermentation process and get some of the nutrients out. Um, but I think that there are, but I'm not sure where you get them. I've never really delved into that part of it, but I do know that they're kind of essential. There's enzymes in your mouth, in your saliva. That initially that's the very first start of your digestive system is your saliva has enzymes that kind of help break down the food as you're masticating your food, you're chewing, and then it gets down to your stomach where the hydrochloric acid takes over. That's why chewing your food as fine as possible is you're exposing more surface area. So when you get it into your stomach, the acid will have an easier time breaking it down for when it gets further in to starts hitting all those bacteria and stuff. So it's actually pretty complex, and if but it's not. If you do the right stuff, if you eat the right diet, so you stay away from processed foods. Stop. I'm done. I'm not petting you anymore right now. Quit. You're interrupting. It's so rude. Um, Stick away from processed foods. Stick away from sugar. as I hold up a chocolate cake that I just made tonight. But you don't want a lot of sugar. Um, Stay away from fast foods. Stay away from the bad types of oil. Your corn oils, your canola oils, your soy oils. All of those are really bad for you. Stop. Um, all of that stuff will affect your gut. They'll impact your gut. High fructose corn syrup affects your gut, right? It doesn't digest in the body. The body really doesn't know what to do with it. Um, all of those will directly impact your gut. So you'd have to stick with more natural foods. I saw one video, and when I listened to it, it's like, man, it makes so much sense, but sounds like a really crappy diet. He's, he's talking meat, eggs, nuts, fruit, vegetables, no grain, no milk, none of that stuff. So you're going to be cutting out all your flour and your dairy, so no cheese. Um, Pretty much five things. Well, I mean five categories of food, and then water or coffee or tea, right? And you think about it, it's like, man, that is really an ideal diet for our biological machine. Um, get the right fermented foods. If you're able to break your diet down to that, and then fix your gut with fermented foods. There's other things you could use. You could do apple cider vinegar. There's kefir, kombucha, kimchi. But you have to make sure that when you're eating this stuff, you're eating it raw, right? You can't cook it because you're not going to get any of those back. You just killed them all when you cooked it. So you can cook with it, right? I mean, it's okay to cook with, but you have to eat some of it raw. So what I would typically do when I'm trying to fix my digestion is I make sauerkraut. I'm getting ready to do another video on that. Probably do it this week because I just bought a head of lettuce or a cabbage, so I gotta get it done, and I'll probably make a half a gallon. Um, but we'll do how to make sauerkraut. I mean, it's just two ingredients. You have cabbage and salt. That's it, and water if you need it. But this one's pretty fresh. Good oil to cook with. There's a lot of debate on it. Here's the ones that I like. I like avocado oil. I like grapeseed oil, and grapeseed oil is not a seed oil. Seed oil is like corn oil, soy oil, right? But not grapeseed. Grapeseed's a different class entirely. Coconut oil is good. Uh, Olive oil, but you have to get the higher quality, right? You don't want it, if it's like quadruple filtered and crap, it's like you've taken everything out of it that makes it any good. So the virgin oil is really good, but it tends to be a little bit more expensive, right? So you gotta do a little bit of research, and it will be more spendy. But if you're not using a lot to cook with, you don't really need a lot. You know what? Tablespoon of oil to cook a meal or something, depending on what you're doing. Come on. And then we have Pepper, who is now a lap cat, he thinks. He's enormous. Look how fat he is. This is Pepper. You can tell his gut works fine. Cheese would be hard. All of it would be hard, right? I would have a hard time with it. I like milk. Like a nice glass of milk with that chocolate cake would be amazing, right? Cold milk. Milk with peanut butter toast, right? So there's the grain. About the only thing I got in there would be the peanuts. That would be good. Um, but yeah, you fix your gut, and that'll go a long way towards fixing your mental health. Because if you notice, a lot of the millennials, a lot of the Gen Zers tend to be on a lot of the mental drugs, right? But look at their diets. They're eating cheese puffs and all that crap that's really really bad for you. As you can tell, Pepper's kind of lovable. All that stuff that's really bad for you. So that's going to directly impact their mind as well. On top of all that, then they're taking all those chemicals. That's not going to have a really good impact on their gut. Another one of those. Yeah, cold press oils are obviously the best. Dude, you're being so intrusive right now. This is Pepper. He's not spoiled at all. You guys remember him if you've been following. You remember him when he was like a little tiny baby. Go back and watch those videos and see how tiny he was. He was about as tiny as his head is. So, olive oil. That's about all I like to cook with. I mean, there's others that are out there, I'm sure. Stop, that's disgusting. But that's about what I like to cook with. I prefer grapeseed oil. And there's a lot of people go, oh, this is seed oil. It's not. It's not the same thing at all. So, and as far as like what I use for my spread, I use butter. I don't use margarine. I don't. Oh my God, this cat. I don't use margarine. I don't use See, I don't use the butter spread either. Right. He apparently doesn't get enough attention. So that's, but it's kind of hard. Sometimes I'll put honey in the butter, mix it up. Cook with lard or tallow. When it comes to, like, when I'm making biscuits, I don't use Crisco. So I don't use butter either. Butter's not very good with biscuits. I don't like it. There was a study in 2019 on the gut brain. I'll bring this up. Um, the gut and the brain. Okay, so the primary thing, the reason why the gut and the brain are so important is they're connected by the vagus nerve, VAGUS. And this is kind of like attached to the back of your brain, and it goes straight down to, and the vagus nerve controls a lot of stuff. I actually covered that in the course. And this is what the gut and the brain communicate with each other with. Like that's the direct line of communication. There's no off ramps. It's a straight shot. I like the Bills. No, I don't like the Bills. In 2019, it did a study, and it saw what they called it was the gut brain axis, and said it involves various pathways like the neuroendocrine, immune, and humoral systems. Like they're all interconnected with the gut. The study highlighted how the gut's microbiota, the community of microorganisms residing in the gut, we just talked about that, significantly influence brain function and behavior. If our digestive system isn't properly balanced in its gut flora, I just said all this, we're not getting the full benefits from the food that we eat, which can have a negative impact on our entire body, including our brain. Animal fat's not bad. Everything in moderation, I'm not eating it by the spoonful. I use it to cook with. So it's it's easy to fix, but it's really hard to break because I mean I like sugary snacks. I don't like I like fast food. I like that stuff, and even though I know it's bad for me, I don't eat it very often. But that's the kind of stuff that can directly impact, and for long term, like fast food can impact your digestive system, like long term. Like if you went out to McDonald's or Wendy's or Arby's or wherever you went, stop. I'm not petting you anymore. Um, if you went to any of those places, you've completely disrupted your gut, right? And then you've got to go through and you got to get your fermented foods and go back to your other diet and get all that stuff rebalanced. It could take 2 weeks, 4 weeks to get your gut back on track from the interruption of all that. That stuff's terrible. Like they've done the cheeseburger, left it in the freaking closet for 10 years, brings it out, looks just the same as it did when they cooked it. So, I mean, clearly there's something wrong with that whole thing. Um, they don't. That's part of the issue that I have with it. They don't talk about it in the current healthcare, right? They don't talk about how important the digestive system is. So, I mean, your doctor doesn't know much about nutrition, so he's clearly not going to know a lot about your digestive system unless he's kind of like a Crohn's doctor or an IBS doctor. But even then, he may not know, or they may not know, um, all the proper stuff that balances that. They just know what pharmaceuticals to give you. They don't know about the other stuff. I don't know. I don't know. It seems there's a lot of people that have it, and they don't seem to be fixing it. And it seems to be a pretty easy fix, right? I mean, if you look at it logically, it's a pretty easy fix. You eat the right food, you eat, do the fermented food, you get the crap out of your diet, you remove the toxins. I don't see where the problem is at that point. Um, I mean, can anybody disagree with that? Doesn't it seem pretty simple and logical? If you just fix your digestive system, does it seem complicated to anybody? We're gonna talk about the 3Ds of health next week. I really like that. There we go. Did you ever consider talking about the brain cholesterol? I've been reading a lot of stuff. The brain, okay, so the myelin sheath, right, and a lot of the stuff that's directly impacted by the brain is literally made from cholesterol. Like back in the 70s, I was just doing some research on this. Back in the 70s, a normal cholesterol level was like 225, right? And people weren't, there was no Alzheimer's. They didn't have Alzheimer's. Maybe they may have had dementia, but Alzheimer's wasn't a thing. And then all of a sudden, poof, they said, oh, well, if your cholesterol's over 150, then it's too high, and then bang, there's all of a sudden all this Alzheimer's. It's like, well, that's weird. Is it an odd coincidence? It seems to be an odd coincidence that there wasn't any Alzheimer's before then, and then you drop the cholesterol levels, and poof, there's Alzheimer's. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of coincidence. I'm not, not necessarily. Um, and I know that that it's required for your brain. It doesn't make sense. That's why typically when I talk about herbs, you see a lot of the herbs that'll say, I don't anymore. I rarely say lower cholesterol. It balances your cholesterol. Herbs will balance out your cholesterol. Your cholesterol is supposed to be in a certain like ratio that's specific to your body. Every body is going to be a little different, right? So your ratio has to be proper. So when you take certain herbs that like fenugreek is known to help balance cholesterol, it'll balance out. It'll remove the cholesterol that doesn't need to be there, but it'll help you to utilize the cholesterol that does. You know, so it's a good trade off. It doesn't lower your cholesterol. However, when you're taking things like statins, they lower your cholesterol. Right? They remove it. They're not balancing shit. they're just taking it out. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. They're not balancing anything. They're just taking it out. So versus you take a plant based medicine, and it tends to balance out your cholesterol. Hawthorn is also very good at this, right? You take hawthorn, it'll balance out your cholesterol levels. It doesn't lower them. I mean, it will if one is too high or the other is too low. It'll help too, but that's just how it'll help your body to process that cholesterol. And if you don't have enough cholesterol, man, I don't know. I'm just thinking you don't have enough cholesterol. You're doing your brain a disservice. You're not giving your brain the fuel that it needs to function. So that's my opinion. I'm just a nerd guy. What do I know? So yeah, I think I'm not recommending anybody raise their cholesterol levels. Just do some research on it though. Look at what the cholesterol levels were in the 70s. Look at the fact that Alzheimer's didn't become a thing until like 1976, which is right around the time we lowered cholesterol levels to healthy levels. So I don't know. The correlation's there, and Alzheimer's is on the rise. They keep giving statins. The liver does produce cholesterol if your liver's healthy. Does anybody think this cat is intrusive? Look at his face. He's so innocent. He looks very intense, doesn't he? Now he's gonna take a bath. I hate being in his bathtub. Hi. He's spoiled. He was looking at me like, "What'd you shut up for, Dad?" Maybe he was offended that I don't like being in his bathtub. So the third part would be the mind-body connection. This kind of covers the other two, right? This is like the other two in a nutshell. This is all about your mindset. This is where like the placebo effect is going to come into play. This is where your mindful meditation. Okay, so you have your meditation where you're just meditating to help relax yourself. And then, and then you have meditation where it's called mindful meditation. You are meditating with a purpose, right? You have a specific purpose in mind, a specific health goal in mind, and you meditate and focus on that getting better. Okay, mind body. Um, there's a guy, a gentleman, Joe Dispenza. Has anybody ever heard of Joe Dispenza? Anybody ever heard his story? I can't be long, otherwise people get bored. Anybody ever heard of Joe Dispenza? Well, if you haven't heard of Joe Dispenza, he is a doctor who used to be a professional, a bicyclist, right? And one day he was riding along, la 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 la, minding his own business, and somebody hit him. and he became a quadriplegic. He was paralyzed. He's done, right? And he was a chiropractor at the time. And he decided one day, after a while, he decided, you know what? I don't want to be paralyzed anymore. So he's not. He isn't. He's not paralyzed anymore. He walks now. He gives motivational talks. He discusses his method. And it kind of seems like he created himself a new nervous system. He just decided, man, I don't want to be paralyzed anymore. And he had all the X-rays, right? That dude was paralyzed. He wasn't walking. He wasn't going anywhere. But he is now, and he's extremely healthy. He's actually somebody you should look at as some sort of role model, right? Because he went. You don't get much more adverse than that, than being totally paralyzed, and then decide I don't want to be. I'm done with this. I don't want to be an invalid. Have somebody else cleaning me up all the time. Can't eat. Can't nothing. So he decided I don't want to do that anymore, and he's walking. And he did that with his mind. They didn't use drugs to do that. They didn't electrocute him. They didn't put the neuro chip in him. He just decided, I don't want to be. I don't want to be paralyzed. So he's an inspiration. That's the kind of person you need to look to. This is the kind of stuff we need to harness as far as healing goes, right? And he talks about how he went and did Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Oh, you're so vicious. He's getting comfy. Sometimes this cat. I know. Poor baby. Don't bite me. So, I mean, your mind impacts everything. It's like what I said before. When when you give negative self-talk, that has that negative impact. Your body can't tell the difference. So your mind is pretty powerful in what your the mind is very misunderstood, but we have a direct impact on it, right? A lot of the negativity. Look at laughter, right? Dr. Patch Adams, he figured out happy people tend to be healthy, and he was able to help a lot of patients by using laughter. Don't get me wrong, they used the other methods, but they maintained their mindset. Those of you, did any of you remember we talked Dr. Alia Crum where we watched the placebo effect? Any of you guys remember that video? And they did a study. For those of you who don't, I'm gonna go over it really quick. They did a study where they gave people an intentional rash, right? Everybody got an intentional rash, and they broke them up into two separate groups. And in one group, they had a very competent they had a very competent doctor who was very competent, said, resident, you know what I mean? And they came in and they were very personable, and they became very friendly with the people. And they told the people, well, you put this cream on here and it's going to make that rash go away. And with those people, the rash went away, right? The other group of people, they did this, they had the same cream, and the cream wasn't even an anti-allergy, it was just some like cream. It didn't have any properties. It was just a cream. The other people, they gave them the same cream, but the doctor said student doctor. They couldn't really get the high blood pressure done right. They weren't very personable. Name, where you're born. They didn't connect with the patient, and none of those people, their rash all stayed the same, using the same salve. The provider was different, right? So in this particular instance, the medicine was the doctor, and it turned out that if the doctor can connect with the patient on a personable level, right, that patient tends to have a better personal outcome. There was another guy who he did a study, or he read a study. He was a patient. He had stage 4 some kind of cancer, and he read a study where it came out and it said this particular chemical, this pharmaceutical came out, and it was great for this cancer. And he's like, Doc, you look at this study, man. We got to try it. You tried everything else. I'm gonna die. So they gave the guy the drug. His cancer went away. 3 years later, in an article in a newspaper, he happened to read that another study came out about that particular drug that said that the drug that he took didn't really work for cancer. That was a wrong study or something. They said something bad about it. About a month later, that guy was dead from the cancer. So that was his mind telling him that the drug worked and the cancer stayed away. And then the minute he thought that that drug didn't really work for that cancer, cancer came back and killed him, right? So his mindset was what was relevant to the scenario. And I've saw a couple different videos about that. I can't remember the name of the drug, but I mean, if you're going in with a negative, I've had to use reverse psychology with people, you know, and because they came in thinking that nothing's going to work for them, and I'll just tell them, you might as well just leave if nothing ever else has ever worked for you. Clearly, nothing else is ever going to work for you either. So you're just going to stay sick. You're better off just leaving. And I know that sounds terrible, but some people will be like, wait, what? Because they're used to people trying to help them. And, I love to help people. But if your mindset is nothing's ever helped you, then I'm not going to be able to help you. I'm not. I mean, I can, but I used the reverse psychology on them. In that, the one woman said, she came in, she talked about heart stuff. I have heart stuff. And I'm like, okay. I never make any recommendations. And I said, well, I've heard people have used this. Oh, it never worked for me. I've heard people have used this. That's never worked for me. I went through a list of like 10 different herbs and that have all been good for heart. And I said, no, I can't speak for any of that. But and she's like, well, none of that's ever worked for me. And I had a store at that time. I'm like, well, she goes, so what do you have? And I said, nothing that's going to work for you. And I said, I'll tell you why. Because you're the only person I've ever talked to in the 30 years that I've been doing this that none of those have ever worked for. You're the only person. You're part of that 0.01% that it just doesn't work for. I said, so there's nothing here that can help you. And she's like, well, what has shown to help? And I went back to my original herb. I was like, well, according to the studies, Hawthorne has done this. And I went through the whole thing and I showed her the studies. I said, no, I can't recommend anything, but this is what other people have used to good effect. So she got the Hawthorne. And about a week later, she's like, man, I feel amazing. That's really good. And she, oh, you don't understand. My blood pressure's down. I have more energy. I'm happier. And it was like, well, that's great. I'm really glad to hear that. I'm glad you finally found something that worked for you. And 6 months later, she was still calling me. Oh, I still feel amazing. She wasn't buying the Hawthorne for me at that point. Would you quit? She wasn't buying the Hawthorne for me at that point. I didn't care. That's not the whole point of it. I was glad that I was able to help somebody. But it was her mindset. She came in there. That was the first thing she said. Oh, it never worked for me. But when I told her, you're the only person I've talked to in 30 years that's never worked for that particular reason, then she took it, and she's like, wow, I feel amazing. It wasn't the herb. If she'd used it before and it didn't work, it was the fact that, I kind of pointed out to her in a logical way, you're literally the only person that's never worked for. And, sometimes you have to get, some of my clients think I'm not very nice. It's not that I'm not nice. I'm just oftentimes not telling them things they want to hear. So, it may sound like I'm not nice, and I am nice about it. You got to open the mind to the possibility of things. Right. If you don't believe that it's going to work, that's why I tell people if you're going into natural healing, you got to understand that it's going to work. If you come in there going, I don't think this is really going to work, don't waste your time. Go watch a video, play video games or something. Don't waste your time because you're going into it already with the mindset of failure. It doesn't make any sense to try to continue, when you've already defeated yourself in your mind. So, from my perspective, that's just my opinion. What do I know? I'm just a nerd guy. So yeah, I mean, those are really the ways that the entire body is all interconnected, right? If you balance the one, that kind of seems like if you start with the gut, and then go with positive affirmations. If you don't know what that is, just look it up. Do a Google search. I need positive affirmations. Something will pop up every day. You could even probably get your Google Assistant or whatever you use for your helper or whatever, or even your calendar, and just have a daily affirmation. Say it a few times. Say, I am enough. Sounds lame, but you say it enough times, you're going to believe it. That's part of the mindset as well. Fake it until you make it. Even if you don't think it's accurate, fake it till you make it. I mean, pretend it is until it becomes that way, because that'll happen too. Even if you don't want to do it, if you fake doing it, and you fake doing it, you fake doing it, and you fake doing it, over time, it's not going to be fake anymore. You've actually turned it into a habit. Now it's not fake. It's become reality. So, and that's true. It really is true. When you've heard, I don't know if anybody's ever heard the term "fake it till you make it." That's what that really means. Eventually, you're going to reaffirm those mindsets and that behavior in your mind, and it'll become reality, not a fake. What's good for congestion? I can't recommend anything. The placebo effect is super powerful. Go watch Dr. Alia Crum. It's a 15-minute video. I'm going to answer your question, Vanessa, Yahweh's child. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to answer your question. Let me get this real quick. To see an interesting video on the placebo effect, go to Dr. Alia Crum. It's here on YouTube. Dr. Alia Crum, Harnessing the Power of the Placebo Effect. It's an amazing video. That's the only video, other than the ones that I have of my kids here. Um, the only video that I've ever downloaded from YouTube, and I have it in my phone. Every phone I get, I download that video because I watch it at least, I don't know, once or twice a month, just to listen to it again and reaffirm that. So, answer your question. Herbs that are good for congestion, walking pneumonia. So, walking pneumonia implies there's some sort of bacterial infection. I'm not recommending anything, I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just telling you what the science says, and then you can go from there, okay? So, I do know that herbs like mullein leaf. Now you have mullein leaf is known to be highly antimicrobial, but it's also primarily considered an herb lung, right? This is a lung that primarily targets the herbs, the lungs. Um, it has antimicrobial effects in other parts of the world. It's been used to treat tuberculosis. So, that's one of the worst, right? And mullein is shown to be extremely effective against the tuberculosis bacteria because tuberculosis is a bacterium. There's other herbs like horehound. Horehound is bitter, but it's also a decongestant. Both of these are mild decongestants. What they'll do is they'll line the coating of the lungs, and then when you go to cough, instead of going and you just have that rattle in the back of your throat, you'll cough and it'll be productive. Now it's going to be gross. Spit it out. Don't swallow it, or you're defeating the purpose. Right? Spit it out in a napkin or whatever. Ginger, and single-use herbs are kind of useless, my opinion. Right? You just use one herb for one thing. It doesn't make sense. It's only going to help in one way. You need different things that are going to help in different ways to work together to get the whole, right? Because if it's walking pneumonia, you've got a couple of different issues, right? You've got a bacteria in your lungs, you've got congestion, you've got inflammation, you've got buildup, right? There's a lot of different things that's wrong. It's not just a one thing. So you need multiple different things to coalesce together to attack the problem while simultaneously taking care of the symptoms, right? And one herb, the horehound by itself, not going to do it. Mullein by itself, not going to do it. Ginger by itself, it's just not going to do it. You combine them all together, it's going to be more effective. You'll stand a better chance. Eucalyptus leaf is another not a recommendation. It is another herb that has been used. You can find all this stuff online. You just go online. I usually even have most of those herbs in my store. I just don't think I have any listed right now. So I have an Etsy and an eBay store, and I don't think the links are in my bio. I'll put my link tree in my bio. But YouTube's pretty funny about that. Etsy, with my eBay store, it's Science with Nature. And I think my Etsy store is Where Science Meets Nature. So, because eBay's kind of weird about their names. So, quit. You gotta wait a minute. So, when you're doing something like that, it seems to be the best way, if somebody were to do that, would be to drink it as a tea. But you can't just drink it as a tea, okay? You can't boil it. You can't microwave it. You can't do any of that. You just have to heat the water, put the herbs in the water, let it sit for a while. Science meets nature. Yeah, that's where it's at on eBay. I think I even have Love My Lungs. Let me see. I have a blend that I put together years ago, and I'm not trying to sell it. Go buy it somewhere else. Get the herbs somewhere else. I don't care. I'm just. Let me tell you what I have in mind. It's called Love My Lungs Herbal Tonic. I think I have it over on eBay. Pretty sure. Calm and focused. Aloe, kudzu, fenugreek. No, Love My Lungs Herbal Tea. It has. I don't remember all the ingredients right offhand. We have mullein, horehound, ginger, lungwort, slippery elm, and peppermint. And all of those. Okay, so ginger has eugenol and some other compounds in it that are known to be antibacterial. but they also ginger has that spiciness, which will help with the getting stuff out. Lungwort or usnea is kind of a moss. Um, Very potent, very good for the lungs. It's a decongestant, antimicrobial. Slippery elm is what's called it has mucilage, right? Which is like a slimy substance that the herb produces. And what that will do is it'll coat your throat, but it's also a decongestant, but it's a very, very gentle decongestant. Like this is gentle enough for infants and babies, right? Gentle, gentle. And then peppermint. Peppermint contains menthol, and menthol is known to help, with congestion. You use menthol, vapor rub on your nose. You can get all that crap out. So when you make a tea like that, you take a towel. It's gonna sound weird. You heat up your water. You don't boil it. You just get it really hot. Put your herb in it. Let it set. As the herb is sitting in your tea bag or in your tea strainer or whatever you have, in the hot water, you put a towel over your head, and you're gonna sit over that tea because the steam that is escaping is it's going to have volatile and essential oils in it. Now they're going to be in steam form, so when you breathe, you're literally going to put them where the problem is, right? They're going to be in where the bacteria, where all the congestion and stuff is. And as you breathe that steam in, you're going to cough a lot, probably, but a lot of that crap is going to come out. It's going to have an antimicrobial effect. I'm not saying it's going to cure anything. I'm not saying it's going to make you any better. I'm just saying that according to the science, the particular compounds that are in those particular herbs seem to get those things out. If you have a local herb store, like cysts, it would depend on what type of cyst, and and without a consultation, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So again, that's why I don't really make recommendations. Am I religious? Define religious. Do I conform to any type of religion? No, not really. Do I have anything against any type of religion? No, not really. Religion is actually a kind of a form of modality of healing. It's kind of important. Spirituality, at the very least, is highly important for a healthy body. So, but no, I'm not religious. To be fair, when I started my herbal medicine journey, it had nothing to do with herbal medicine, man. I was looking at the magical properties of herbs. I was tinkering with Wicca back then. So I do. I have some beliefs. Yes. I don't really talk about like that kind of stuff because you get your holy roller Christians that get all offended that I would talk about anything that's not Jesus or God related. Then you get other religions that or people that don't. I don't know. I tend to keep my religion tend to keep my religion out of my healing. I do have my own belief, and it's kind of a weird one. I've talked to a few people about it, and they're like, "Man, that really makes a lot of sense." But but yeah, I do. I guess I can't call it my own religion, but I have my own specific beliefs. So I don't know. Maybe someday I'll do a video on my specific beliefs. The downside to that is, you get a lot of people that, if they're very religious in their own particular religion, um, they'll get really offended. Do I teach about herbal medicine? Sure. Over on all my videos, and then over on my Patreon page. The link is in this description here for this video. So after it's done, you can go back and hit the description to my Patreon page, where I am next month starts the herbal medicine part of my course. I've already done the very first part of it, where we discuss the different types of medicine. Um, but um, Next month we're going to be starting the lives on herbal medicine and how to apply herbal medicine in daily life. Because there's a lot more, like the very first episode. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the very first section that it's going to be like 7 or 8 different sections. It's not like I'm going to teach it in one sitting, and it's only going to be live over on my Patreon page. So only $3 patrons are going to have access to it. So I figured that kind of information, as much stuff as I put into it, I can't give everything away for free. I don't get anything on these videos that I do. So the only time I make money is if people buy my products on my eBay or my Etsy store. I don't get paid from these platforms. All this stuff is free. So, and the hopes, well, not really free. It's kind of advertising, but I don't really advertise my stores very. With Patreon, it's the herb guy. Well, the link is in the description. Um, but yeah, I mean, all these videos and all this stuff is free, and maybe with the new administration, with all these new things, and now they're going to go after the FDA and start talking more nutraceuticals. The Herb Guy, all one word, on Patreon, patreon.com, the Herb Guy. Um, then maybe I think our platform will stand a better chance of being able to reach more people. But until the mindset, I mean, over on X, it's not, right? I post over on X. People would rather see fights and stupid shit than stuff that could potentially help you. So there's that too. But I got to get out of here. This is 15 minutes longer than I wanted it to be. Next week, we're going to talk about the 3Ds of health. And I'm going to make probably Ben and maybe Sarah moderators. So when you get the dorks in here, um, they can moderate them out and not throw me off. We're going to talk about the 3Ds of health. I'm going to cover the 3Ds of health is this. You have detox, digestion, and diet. This is a system that I put together a long time ago. It's actually available. If you want to read it before next week's live, you can actually go over and read it on my Patreon page. That's one of the free sections. In the free section, if you go to collections on patreon.com/theherbguy, even if you're not a member, this is available to the public. Go to collections and then go to free section, and then you'll look up 3Ds of health. There's a lot of free stuff over there, but if you want to see what the 3Ds of health are and my take on it, feel free to go over there, because there's 3 different ways to detox. It's more than just getting out parasites or getting out this or that. There's a specific way that I think you should go about doing it, and then you got to fix your digestion, and then you got to fix your diet. Um, yeah, it should be fun, and it'll be live. If you don't make the live, it's fine. It'll still be recorded. You'll still be able to go back and everything will be printed up. So each section of the course will be available in a printable format, so you can print it up and have your own little book and stuff. So it's not just going to be video. It's video and like written information, so you can keep it forever. That way, if you forget what's on the video, you can just go read it. So that's what's going to be cool about it. But yeah, and invite more people. I'd like to get a whole bunch of people in. I'd like to see a whole bunch of people doing it. Only 11 of you have voted. I got tons of subscribers over there. Only 11 of you have voted. So if you're a patron, get your butt over there and vote, or you're going to be stuck watching it on a Tuesday if Tuesday's inconvenient. Because at this point, Tuesday's in the lead. And I think I'm going to close voting on Friday. So, because it'll be starting right around the middle of February. So this Friday is the last chance to vote on what day you want. And Tuesday is in the lead. So if you want a different day, get your butt over there and vote. So I'll see you guys next week.